Hey, everybody. Boy, do we have a lot to talk about. Welcome here to my YouTube channel. If you don't like that or some of the various outlets that you may be watching, it's great to have you here. How quickly things can change in the National Football League. 4 plays, and Aaron Rodgers' year is over, and you wonder if he's ever going to play again. He's going to be 40 years old soon, an Achilles, and this is just devastating for the New York Jets, obviously for Aaron Rodgers. The Jets won the game, but they won the battle. They lost the war. Speaking of the battle, what's wrong with Josh Allen? Is he overrated or what? Is Josh Allen an elite quarterback? He certainly looked like that 2 years ago in the wild overtime playoff game in Kansas City. But that's the last time I've seen Josh Allen play that well. Last year, he was very disappointing. I talked about it on a fairly regular basis. He was terrible last night. He's the reason why they lost the game. All right? He's the reason why the Buffalo Bills lost the game. All right? And so, I look at the Bills. They're a good team, but they're not going anywhere when their quarterback makes horrible decisions, right? So, you tell me, what do you see in Josh Allen? What do you see? What do you see? You know what I see? I see a quarterback who's not as good as everyone makes him out to be. And listen, I had him high up on my ratings when I did my quarterbacks earlier this summer, but I also said he needs to play much better this year than he did last year. And what I saw last night is a regression. He regressed. He didn't get better. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. All right. What do you want to talk about? All right. We can do whatever you want. We can go in any direction you want. But if you're a fan of the Buffalo Bills, you've got to be concerned about what you're seeing with Josh Allen. You just have to. All right? You just have to. All right, again, glad to have you here. Send the questions. Sea-Dog with some news on the Kings. Wow. So Queta and Noel cut. Done. You knew that, when they got JaVale McGee, somebody had to go, right? You knew that was part of it. So I'm not surprised. I said when they signed Nerlens Noel, I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that at all. I really don't. How many centers can you have on your squad, right? So we'll see. All right? We'll see. All right, when you look at the NFL after week 1, bad offensive line play we saw in a lot of games. Horrible. We saw teams that we thought were going to be really good look really bad. The Cincinnati Bengals. Okay? Horrible. The Giants. I didn't think they were going to be great this year, but I thought they would be, a 9-win team. They looked horrible. Sea-Dog wants to know, Grant, was Sunday night the worst Giants performance you have ever seen? I've been watching the Giants, Sea-Dog, for 61 years. Okay? I've seen a lot of bad football, trust me. I've seen a lot of horrible football from the Giants. That may have been the worst game I've ever seen. And Sea-Dog, I did something that I've never done before. Never. First time ever, Sea-Dog. I turned the game off before it was over. You know when I turned it off? I turned it off halfway through the third quarter. Think about that. I turned off the first game of the year against a divisional rival, turned it off halfway through the third quarter. I have never done that before. First time, Sea-Dog. Never done that before. So you're asking me, was it the worst performance I've ever seen? It's in the top 5. You know, Sea-Dog, you got to understand, in 61 years, I've watched a lot of football. All right, I've watched the Giants play for 61 years. They were horrible for many of those years. I've seen a lot of bad games. Under the circumstances, okay? Under the circumstances, I do not recall a worse performance than that. Again, considering the circumstances. All right? Awful. Absolutely horrible. Sea-Dog says the only good thing to come out of that game was the national anthem. I would agree with you. The national anthem was great. That was the only good thing. But a lot of important week 2 games already. You know, how about Cincinnati and Baltimore? You know, the Bengals started off 0-2 last year, but that's a dangerous recipe for success. They're playing Baltimore this week. That's a big game. I'll tell you another big game in the NFC is Seattle, who got beat at home to the Rams, going to Motown to take on the Lions. And we know that the Lions and what they did on Thursday night in beating Kansas City. So you could be looking at an 0-2 Seattle team if they're not able to go into Motown and beat the Lions. You got the Bills, who have to get back up off the mat, and they're taking on a Raiders team who went into Mile High and beat the Denver Broncos. All right? So there are some very interesting games coming up this week. Philadelphia, Thursday Night Football, home against Minnesota, who lost to Tampa. Think about that for a minute. Tampa, Baker Mayfield. And now you look at the Vikings, who were the winners of the NFC North. They're staring at 0-2 because I don't think they're going to go in and beat Philadelphia, especially on a short week. All right? I don't see it. I really don't. I do not see it. You know, I think the Eagles, and the Eagles didn't play great against New England, but a lot of teams don't play that well in week 1 because of the way the players are used during the preseason. You know, a lot of times it takes 2 or 3 games before you really get an idea of how a team is. And, you know, I'm looking at the Eagles. I didn't think they played that well against New England, but I think they'll play well on Thursday night. So, yeah, we'll see. Again, I think of all the games that I watched, and again, I try to watch all of them, I was most impressed with the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers, to me, were dominant from the first series on both sides of the football. Dominant. They were dominant defensively, putting pressure on the quarterback. They were dominant running the ball, throwing the ball, tackling. I gave them an A+ across the board. I didn't see any negatives at all from San Francisco. They were dominant. They were really good. And I thought, you know, again, Mike Tomlin's teams don't get beat like that very often. And I was very surprised. I thought Pittsburgh had a very good chance of keeping that game close. That game was never close. You know, you could tell after the first series offensively and defensively that the Steelers were in trouble. You just could tell. They never were able to do anything in the game against San Francisco. And again, Mike Tomlin's teams do not normally get beat like that. Not in that circumstance. Home game, you know, good preseason, which again shows you doesn't mean anything. And it's just very puzzling to me. Again, I think it takes 3 full games before you can start evaluating teams in the NFL. Again, the Bengals last year started off 0-2. But the way they looked on Sunday in the dog pound, they were horrible. They were awful. That was brutal. I mean, just absolutely brutal. Their offensive line couldn't block. I mean, they scored 3 points against Cleveland. Think about that. 3 points against Cleveland. Cleveland's got a good defense, by the way. Cleveland's not bad. They're not a bad team. They could win the division. I mean, their defense is very good. And if Deshaun Watson and, you know, Nick Chubb, I mean, they're a good team. But they manhandled Cincinnati. They manhandled them. The game wasn't even close. Wasn't even close. All right, again, throw your questions at me. We can go in any direction you want. whether it's the NBA, the NFL, college football. And yeah, I know, Peter, they were able to run the ball. You're right. 200 yards on the ground in that game. You know what? You're exactly right. Absolutely. The question is, who will play backup center minutes for the Kings this season? It was problematic position last year. Yeah, I think JaVale McGee will get the bulk of the minutes as the backup. I do. I think if I had to guess right now, that's probably the way it's going to go. But, as far as these moves with the Kings, I'm not surprised. John says he was most surprised by the Rams and the Cardinals. The Cardinals lost. I know they kept the game close. I don't know how good Washington is. As Ryan said on the show Friday, the Rams have the Seahawks number. They always seem to play well against the Seahawks, divisional game. So I don't know if I'm surprised at the score. I'm not surprised that the Rams won. I'm surprised at how they won, I guess. That would surprise me, I would say when I look at the Rams, I still don't think they're a playoff team. I really don't. But what do you do if you're the Jets now, right? What do you do? Do you go with Zach Wilson? Or do you shop around and bring in a quarterback? All right? What do you think? If you're the Jets, do you give the keys to Zach Wilson and go, hey, you know what? You got to be the guy we drafted a couple of years ago with the number 2 pick. All right? So it's a tough call if you're the Jets because you have a Super Bowl caliber defense. You really do. But, man, brutal. Why should have Aaron retired last year? Why? I disagree with you. Why should have he retired? John says the Jets should go with Wilson. He's had a full offseason camp to prepare. I agree. I thought he had the one bad throw last night. Other than that, I thought he played pretty well under the circumstances. So now we'll see. We'll see. Seriously, Sea-Dog goes, Grant, big surprise that people are still talking about Kaepernick becoming a starting quarterback. What people, Connor? What people? I don't see that. What people? Seriously. I don't hear it. I don't hear it. All right. So this question is, Grant, do you see NFC quarterback play horrible? Too many young quarterbacks learning on the job. I can't make any observation based on one game. So I need to wait for a while before I answer that question. This one, interesting fact. Giants broadcaster Bob Papa brought it up. The first game he called in 1995 was a 27 loss to the Dallas Cowboys. Go figure. I mean, Bob's done a lot of losses because the Giants have been really bad. They've also won Super Bowls with Bob there, but they've been bad for a long time. I mean, Bob's seen the good and the bad. Trust me, the good and the bad. Sea-Dog says apparently Kaepernick reached out to the Jets. People think him and Cam Newton can still play. Well, those people are delusional and they're unemployed. I thought it was 35-0. It wasn't 27-0 because I was at the game. If it was the game that Emmitt Smith ran wild, it was also the game where they had the halftime ceremony for Phil Simms and Lawrence Taylor because I was at the game. It was Monday night. And Emmitt Smith ran wild. And I talked to Emmitt about that game. He was unbelievable. But yeah, I was at that game in 95, if that's the game that we're thinking about. I'll look it up right now. All right. Hang on a minute. All right. Here we go. In 1995, who did the New York Giants play in their first game of the season? Let's see here. They 1995. All right. Anyway, I'm almost positive that was the case. All right. Yeah. All right. So let me recap this season here. All right. Recap the season. Regular season. Yep. 35-0. Dallas, September 4th. The reason why I remember it was my son's birthday and we were at the game. My son's birthday is September 4th. And every year we would go to the Giants game around his birthday. Yep. 35-0. Emmitt Smith. Never forget it. All right. I would agree with you that it is hard to believe that Brian Daboll is going to have his team ready to play Sunday after a brutal week of practice. I don't see it. I think the Giants are going to have a difficult time going in Arizona and winning. I really do. And here's the other deal. I'm waiting to see the injury report tomorrow because they got some big-time issues now on the offensive line. And if they lose their left tackle, which I think they're going to with a hamstring in Thomas, he hurt his hamstring running after the ball carrier on the block kick in the first drive of the game. All right. Without him, you think their offensive line is bad now? Take him off the field. So that's a problem. I'll tell you what else. And I always like to wait a year or two before I evaluate players. Kayvon Thibodeau is an absolute horrible draft pick at number 5. Awful. Terrible. The guy's invisible. You don't even know he's on the field. You're the 5th pick in the draft last year. I didn't even know. I didn't hear his name called in the 2.5 quarters that I watched the game. Not once did I hear the name Kayvon Thibodeau. The only time I heard his name is during the starting lineups. That's it. Guy's terrible. I take that back. He's not terrible. He's just a non-factor on defense. Their 3 best defensive players are cornerback and defensive line with Lawrence and Williams. That's it. Kayvon Thibodeau looked invisible. And you're right about Evan Neal pick looking worse. You know what he looks like to me, Sea-Dog? Evan Neal looks like Eric Flowers reincarnated. Flowers was left tackle. Neal is right tackle. He can't block his shadow. He's terrible. Terrible. All right, 49ers this week. And then a short week against the Giants. Again, I had the 49ers when I did my picks going 14-3 or 13-4, depending on their last game, meaning would it mean anything? And after watching them play, assuming that they can stay healthy, I think they're going to win 14 games. I think they're that dominant. And again, I can't forecast injuries, just like you can't. Okay? I really don't. All right? I really don't. Someone says, I think this joke is fitting. What does NY on the side of the Giants helmet stand for next year? The Giants have 4 Lombardi trophies in their trophy case. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many teams in the National Football League can say they've won the Super Bowl 4 times? And they were in another one, which they lost to Baltimore. So, no, it doesn't stand for next year. The Giants are one of the great organizations in the National Football League. All right? 4 Super Bowls. 4. So, no. I know you're trying to make a joke, but I'm not going there. Not going there. All right, again, hit the questions up. All right? And the schedule this week in the National Football League gets underway on Thursday. Riley says only 3 teams. As I said, Riley, it's a good number to have. All right, so week 2 in the National Football League. Thursday night football. All right? Thursday night. You have Minnesota at Philadelphia. Elsewhere. All right? Here are your early games on Sunday. Raiders are in Buffalo. Green Bay is at Atlanta. That's going to be an interesting game. Jordan Love played well. Baltimore at Cincinnati. Big game in that division. Seattle at Detroit. The Chargers are in Nashville to take on the Titans. Chicago travels to Tampa Bay. Kansas City is at Jacksonville. Houston at home to Indianapolis. Late games. Niners and Rams down in SoFi. Giants are at Arizona. Jets are in Dallas. Talk about a low-scoring game there. Washington at Denver. Miami at New England. And a pair of games on Monday night. New Orleans is at Carolina. And Cleveland is at Pittsburgh. So there's your schedule. How about the Jets defense and the Cowboys defense? And tell me that CBS is not looking at that game, which would have been one of the highest rated regular season games ever. And now without Rodgers, it's just another game. Can you imagine the build-up for that game? Now it's just another game. Just another game. All right? Which rookie quarterback was I impressed by most in week one? Probably Bryce Young. What about you? I thought he played very well, very poised. I like what I saw. All right. This question: how did you like Carr with the Saints? I've heard Gruden is advising. I don't care about what John Gruden's doing or not doing. I thought he was okay. I thought he was good. Didn't think he was great. I thought he was good. All right. Somebody says the Cowboys defeat the Jets 12-0. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be. I don't think you're going to see a lot of points on the board there. I really don't. What do I think about Christian McCaffrey? I think he's a dynamite football player. He's one of the best in the NFL. There's really not much for me to say. The guy's dynamic. This one says Dallas is going to pick Wilson apart. They may. Their defense may score a touchdown or two. That's a very good point. Could very well happen. All right, again, glad that you are here. And don't forget about New Works Plumbing. If you have any plumbing issues, any repairs that are needed, go to sackserviceplumbing.com or call that number on your screen. New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you. They're available 24/7 for all of your plumbing needs. Again, sackserviceplumbing.com. New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you. Glad to have you with us. Don't forget, tomorrow over on Listen App, Open Forum Wednesday. That's right. That's tomorrow at 3 o'clock. All right. There we go. Could Darnold be traded to the Jets? No. No, he's not going to be traded to the Jets. Oh, boy. John wants to know if I think the Kings finish top 4 in the West next year. I think they got a good chance. Yeah, if they stay healthy, I do. All right? I do. What's my take on Zach Wilson? Show me, Riley. Show me. My take is he's got to prove that he can play in the NFL. He hasn't proven that yet. He had a real bad interception last night, but I thought other than that, he played pretty well under their circumstances. I mean, Wilson catch, all-time great catch? No. At that stadium, all-time great? I mean, it was a very good catch. All-time great? No. Come on. I mean, but it was a good catch. All right? Absolutely. Here's one that says the Vikings radio analyst needs to keep his mouth shut while Paul Allen is calling the game this coming Thursday. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. All right? Not going to happen. Riley thinks the Jets are in trouble. I agree with that. I think they're in trouble too. How about this? Why do I hate Josh Allen? Has anybody heard me say I hate Josh Allen? Have you ever heard me say I hate Josh Allen? Have you ever heard me say that I think Josh Allen is not a good quarterback? Okay, that's 0 for 2. No, I've never heard you say that, Grant. No, I've never heard you say he's a bad quarterback. What have I said? Right now, he's overrated. Right now, he's not an elite quarterback. Why do I say that? Because I watched him play every game last year, and I watched him play last night. And what I saw last year and what I saw last night is far from an elite quarterback. So, Stephen, get the crap out of your ears, okay? Listen with both ears, okay? Listen to what I'm saying. Don't make up what I'm saying to fit your narrative. Listen to what I'm saying. As a matter of fact, go watch and listen to my rant today, okay? Go listen to it. And then tell me if you think that I hate Josh Allen or I said he's a bad quarterback. Unbelievable. Incredible. All right. Somebody said, I've got a feeling that the Chiefs are in trouble in relating to that number one seed in the AFC by the end of the year. You know, the Chiefs are still really good if they get Chris Jones onto the field and Travis Kelce. They're still really good. And I'll tell you, the team that to me looks flat out scary right now is Miami if they can stay healthy. I mean, I'm looking at the Dolphins. Offensively, I can't wait till the Dolphins play the Jets with that defense. I want to see the Jets defense go up against Tua in the Dolphins offense. And you know what? If the Dolphins can score in the mid to upper 20s or above, then I'll be really, really, really impressed. That Miami offense is unbelievable. All right? Absolutely. This is true. John says Grant would only hate Josh Allen if he was on the Cowboys. You're right. That is the only way I would hate Josh Allen. Oh my gosh. That is absolutely beautiful. This one from Sea-Dog. I know it's early, but maybe the top teams in the NFC are better than the top of the AFC. I wouldn't go there just yet, my friend. You know? This one says, I can't wait for the 49ers to play the Cowboys. The problem with that is you can't look that far ahead in the NFL because people were already looking forward to the Cowboys and the Jets this week. And guess what? That game is totally different now. And if you get to the 49ers and the Cowboys and you have key players that aren't on the field, that game's going to look totally different. So you can't look that far ahead in the National Football League because things do change from week to week because of the injuries. There were a couple of regular season games that I'm looking forward to. One, I want to see Dallas and Philly. I want to see San Francisco at Philadelphia. I want to see Dallas at San Francisco for sure. I'm looking forward to seeing Seattle and Detroit. I think that's going to be an interesting game coming up this week. I really do. I think it's going to be a very, very interesting game. Love the questions. Keep them coming right here on our open forum Q&A. Again, NFL Thursday with the Vikings 0-1 taking on the 1-0 Philadelphia Eagles. All right, there we have. Again, we've talked a little bit about this with the Kings waiving two players. When you ask me if I'm happy, I don't really care. I think you phrased the question wrong. You can ask me what I think about it, but when you ask me if I'm happy, I don't really care who the Kings waive and who they keep. It makes no difference to me. I'm past all of that. Okay? I told you, and I'm going to keep on telling you this again. You don't win in the NBA with your 11th, 12th, and 13th men. So it doesn't matter who is at the end of the bench. It makes no difference. Okay? I told you when the Kings signed Nerlens Noel, I didn't understand it, that it made no sense to me. Okay? I said that he can't play. And everyone is like, oh, what a great signing. And I'm like, well, he's got to make the team first. Well, he didn't even make it to training camp. Then I had other people going, well, gee, Grant, he's exactly what the Kings need. I'm like, no, he's not. Then I had somebody telling me that Deuce was raving what a great pickup that was for the Kings. And I'm like, well, that's a great way to ruin your credibility. I mean, I can go on and on. Okay? Like, stop overreacting to players that are at the end of your bench. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You don't win with those players and you don't lose with those players. Okay? They don't play. They can occasionally win a game for you. Like Rashawn Holmes last year and how well he played in LA when everyone else was out. Okay? That can happen from time to time. But your team is going to win or lose based on your 10 guys that play the most minutes. Okay? And so don't make a big deal out of the end of the bench. Again, here's another one. How about Nerlens Noel to the Warriors? The guy can't play. Why would you want him on the Warriors or any other team? He can't play. Why do you think he's been on 8 teams already? Why do you think nobody wants him? He can't play. What is wrong with fans about asking me, gee, what about him here? What? He can't play. It's simple, okay? He's going to play. Where's he going to play on the Warriors? What's he going to do for that team? Think about it for a minute. You'd be better off having another guard on the floor instead of Nerlens Noel. Unbelievable. Sea-Dog says, according to Bleacher Report, there are 34 players in the NBA better than Domantas Sabonis. 34? Name them. All right, don't even name them for me. Who do you have at 30, 31, 32, and 33? All right, there you have it. Here's one for you. Should Sasha be in the starting lineup over Barnes to start the season? Can we please have some practices and training camp before you ask me who should be starting? Can we at least get through a practice? Seriously. Again, I'm going to repeat myself for those of you that have not heard this before. I talked to 3 scouts in Europe. None of them raved to me about Sasha. They said Viznikov will be okay and a role player, but don't get too excited. All right? Sasha is, I think people have a distorted view of him because he was the MVP of the Europe League. He's not Luka Doncic. He's not even close. I hear people say, well, geez, Bogdan. He's not even in Bogdan's zip code. There's no comparison. Like Bogdan Bogdanovic is a much, much, much better player than Sasha. Why do we need to talk about should he be in the starting lineup? Can we at least get through a week of practice and some games? He might be better than I think he's going to be based on the scouts that I've talked to. Scouts are wrong all the time. Or he may be the 9th or 10th man on a team. Maybe he plays good one night and doesn't play good the next. Let's wait a little bit, okay? There you have it. I mean, we can at least wait a little bit. All right. Let's see here. Here we go. 34-31. Beal, Haliburton, Markkanen, Jackson Jr. Bradley Beal is better than Domantas Sabonis? Okay, I could see Haliburton because of the position he plays. Lauri Markkanen, better than Sabonis? No. I like Markkanen, but he's not better than Domantas Sabonis. Jaren Jackson Jr., I like him too, but he's not better than Domantas Sabonis. So I don't agree with that. 30 is Trae Young. Trae Young, you know what Trae Young? He's a cancer. So you want to put a cancer ahead of Sabonis, go ahead. Do you know that nobody on the Atlanta Hawks likes playing with Trae Young? Nobody. Let me repeat. Nobody likes playing with Trae Young. I just talked to my buddy last week who works for the Hawks. They got a real problem down there. Players don't want to be on they don't like him. You know? They don't like him. You're telling me that Karl Anthony Towns was 12 spots ahead of Sabonis? Well, I'll say this to you, okay? I believe I'm going to answer the question this way, Sea-Dog. I believe if you had 30 general managers in a room, 30, and you said, okay, you know what? There are 2 players you can choose to add to your team, Karl Anthony Towns or Domantas Sabonis. I believe that all 30 general managers, including the general manager in Minnesota, would take Sabonis. The Bleacher Report is delusional if they think that Karl Anthony Towns is better than Domantas Sabonis. Delusional. I mean, come on. Unbelievable. Absurd. Here's one. Can the Kings finally be a top 15 defense this season? I don't see it. How? No. First of all, the style of play, being an offensive team, is not conducive to being a good defensive team. Their identity is roll out the ball, we're going to outscore you. That's how they're going to win. No, they're not going to be a top 15 defensive team. They're just not. I'd be surprised. All right? I was surprised. All right? Incredible. All right, again, if you want to hit me up, do so. Somebody says was watching the Kings' 35-point comeback on YouTube, and they used the opposing team's commentary instead of you and Jerry. What a joke. Yeah, because the game was a home game, and generally they use the announcers of the home feed instead of the visiting. That happens, you know? that happens. All right. Come on. James Harden was 22 on the list. You're going to tell me that you're going to take James Harden over Domantas Sabonis? The Bleacher Report should be out of business with that. Seriously. Good Lord. What the hell's wrong with people? Really, what's wrong with people? You really think you put James Harden ahead of Domantas Sabonis? You put Karl Anthony Towns and Bradley Beal ahead of Sabonis? Are we really having these conversations? Good Lord. Unbelievable. Oh, my gosh. All right, hey, don't forget to get the Bennett's Westside Grill at the Blue Oaks Town Center in Rockland. Their food is outstanding. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com. Check out their full menu and more. Don't forget about their prime seafood and steak, their weekend prime rib, their weekend brunch, 60 different types of wine available by the glass at Bennett's Westside Grill. bennettsrestaurants.com. Who makes these lists? You know? Wow. Fox was 17th below Jamal Murray. Well, I would put Jamal Murray ahead of Fox too. I don't have a problem with that. I put Murray ahead of Fox. I put Shai Gilgeous-Alexander ahead of Fox. Where was Shea on that list, dog? I don't have any problem with putting Murray ahead of Fox. I think he's better than Fox. I think he proved that in the playoffs and the NBA Finals. So I don't have a problem with that. I'm okay with having, all right? I'm okay with having Jamal Murray ahead of Fox. All right? I'm okay. Riley wants to know about this week's matchup. Well, you know, the Niners own the Rams, and I think they'll beat them on Sunday. And I think they'll beat them quite comfortably. I really do. So I know it's the divisional game, and I get that. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was 11. Okay, I'm all right with that. You know, I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm okay with that, C-Dog. I'm okay with him being ahead of Fox. I got to be objective here. I would put him ahead of Fox. I'd put Jamal Murray ahead of Fox. I would. I definitely. Now, we might have a different conversation 12 months from now, C-Dog. But right now, I don't have a problem with that. You know, I think when you play the way Jamal Murray did in the playoffs and the NBA Finals, you need to be high up on the list. You know? Absolutely. Will I watch the Major League Baseball playoffs? A snippet, very little. I'd rather watch paint peel off my wall than watch baseball. I just find it just brutal. Absolutely brutal. As a matter of fact, let me wish my buddy good luck. Hang on a minute. He's behind the plate. I hope the game hadn't started. It's a day-night doubleheader. He's behind the plate in Boston for the Yankees and the Red Sox in the second game. Let me see here. I think it was a day-night doubleheader. Have a great game, buddy. Let's see here. I'll let you know in 2 seconds. Yeah, he's got the plate tonight at Fenway for two horrible teams. You know, absolutely. Yes, the Thunder can make some noise. The question is, the Thunder, can they really make noise this season? Lots of young talent. I think they're going to be a playoff team, and I think they're going to be an upper echelon team for a long time to come. And if they draft well, they're going to win a championship. I believe that. All right. Grant, why do you say MLB is brutal? Do you ever watch Major League Baseball? It's like watching paint peel off the wall. Strike out or hit a home run. The ball's rarely in play. It's boring. I can't watch it. I do like the clock. I like the pitch clock, but I don't think I've watched a baseball game from start to finish this year. I think I went to the Marlins game to see my buddy umpire, and I think I left the game after the 5th or 6th inning. And then I texted him. I go, text me when you're done. I'll come back and meet you. I go, I can't sit here and do this. Can't. Awful. Just absolutely brutal. I can't do it. I can't watch it, you know? All right, C-Dog says, I don't know how Paul George and Kawhi are both top 20 players when they never play. I don't understand how you could have them in the top 20 list today. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, yeah. Yeah, then I would have no problem with that. But, you know, man, I don't know. You know, who makes these polls, these lists? Do they watch the games? Do they know what's going on? Really? You have Sabonis at 34? Like, do you not watch the NBA? Like, do you ever watch the Sacramento Kings play? And you've got Domantas Sabonis at 34, 34th best player in the league. You got Karl Anthony Towns. At what, 22? Really? Have you watched Karl Anthony Towns play the last 2 years? Really? Karl Anthony Towns? Are you kidding me? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Where'd Keegan Murray end up? You said he's on the list, you know? You know what? Could I see the Raiders getting a win at Buffalo this Sunday? Yeah, I could. But boy, if the Bills start off 0-2, they're in trouble. My buddy is not taking the field yet. He just said, thanks, man. Yes, sir. So he's got the plate tonight. All right. Let me see. Do I like Chris Paul's fit in the Warriors? I do if he's healthy. But how many games is Chris Paul going to play? Right? How many games? That's the problem. Patrick in New York, Sea-Dog, wants to know where Jalen Brunson is on that list. Can you look that up for us, Sea-Dog? Where's Jalen Brunson? Keegan is 92 on that list. He'll be higher after this year. He'll definitely be higher. Brunson was 36th, so he's right behind Fox. So he's 2 behind Fox. Brunson was 36. Thanks for that, Sea-Dog. Appreciate that. I wonder, Sea-Dog, if maybe you could, is this just one person's opinion, or is this like a whole panel of NBA folks at Bleacher Report? By the way, speaking of the NBA, and this is a perfect example of how messed up our society is, okay? This is everything that's wrong in a nutshell with what's going on. All right, the Houston Rockets. Have you seen the story on Kevin Porter? No one's talking about this. You know why? Because a lot of people don't even know who Kevin Porter is. He's on the Houston Rockets. He allegedly attacked his girlfriend at a New York City hotel. You ready for this? Left the woman with a fractured neck vertebrae and a cut above her right eye. Okay? By the way, Porter, for the record, has pleaded not guilty to the felony assault and strangulation charges. All right? So he did plead not guilty. His girlfriend was former WNBA player, ran out into the hallway covered in blood. How about that? And again, no one's talking about this. Can you imagine if this was a player on the Knicks or the Lakers or more of a well-known player? Why is nobody talking about this? It's just unbelievable to me, right? This is a unbelievably disturbing story. Porter, by the way, has played 4 seasons in the NBA. He's had on-court effectiveness and off-court problems. He averaged 19 points, 5.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists last year, and he got a 4-year extension with the Rockets. Now, in 2020, he was arrested when he was playing for Cleveland after police said they found a loaded handgun and marijuana in his car after a single vehicle crash. Porter said he didn't know the gun was there. The charges were eventually dismissed. He blew up at the Cavaliers general manager after finding out his locker had been moved to make room for a newly acquired player. In 2021, the NBA fined Porter $50,000 for violating the league's COVID-19 health and safety rules by visiting a Miami strip club. He was suspended for a game last year after getting into it with the coach. There you have it. Again, no one's even talking about this. Had it been a big time player, and Porter's pretty good, but it would be all over the news. But now it's buried in the news. It's amazing to me. You know? Incredible. Incredible. All right. Tomorrow, listen app. I will be coming your way at 3 o'clock. All right. Looking forward to that. And we'll do our fantasy football roundtable tomorrow over on Listen App. So we'll see how the fantasy football did after week 1. We'll get into that tomorrow. I'll give you some little bit tidbits on the Thursday night game. All right, we'll do that. Somebody wants to know what player would I rate as equal to Sabonis? Well, I don't have the list in front of me, but to me, he's a top 20 player in the NBA. Top 20. He's not 34. He's top 20 player in the NBA. Hello. He made what? Was he on the third team All NBA squad this year? He's a top 20 player. I mean, incredible. Did I see that the Niners took the woke quotes off the back of their helmets? Yeah, good for them. Good for them. Absolutely. Good for them. Every team in the NFL should do that. It's embarrassing. Horrible for the league. Absolutely horrible. Zion Williamson is 28. How the hell is Zion Williamson 28? Again, you know what? The Bleacher Report, you know what, Connor? Don't even read that anymore. What a bunch of crap. Zion Williamson is 28? Seriously? Really? What the hell's wrong with people? Seriously. Good Lord. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. I am going to be back tomorrow, 3 o'clock. Listen app with my Open Forum Wednesday and our Fantasy Football Roundtable. Hey, make it a good rest of your Tuesday. And thank you so much for being right here on If You Don't Like That. Oh, boy. So long, everybody.